All right, before this video, I want to promote the Discord, you feel me? So make sure to check it out. Link will be in the description down below. And without further ado, let's just get right into the video. This is a long video. I do rant towards the end, but it's pretty much just going to be on the state of the game, my overall thought process on where K-Lab's going with it, since it is literally the end of the year. And keep in mind that this banner drops tonight as opposed to tomorrow night. So I honestly believe it's just so that they don't have to work on New Year's Day, because they're like a day ahead. So if it came out on the 31st for us, it would be coming out on the 1st for them. And I think Caleb just wants to save themselves on the holiday pay. Alright, what is going on, guys? Pavel's back again and coming at you with this news video. Excuse me, should you summon on the new banner? Now, obviously the answer is going to be a big yes, but you might not understand why or who you should be summoning for, just because we do have new 5-star characters, but then you have the other 5-star featured characters. Now, under the other 5-star featured characters, we actually have a pretty good selection, just because they did decide to add the Conquered banner, which I think is pretty cool, just because you have now Orihime with Ichigo, Uryu, and Chad to simulate kind of like that entrance to the series with the first episode of 1000-Year Blood War, Bleach finally coming back and all that. You have Yhwach, who has the booster skill, the Heart Yhwach, which, you know, like him with 2 Yhwachs in the banner is pretty good. Just keep in mind, try not to get overly excited if you hear Yhwach's voice, just because you end up getting the Heart Yhwach. You might be a little too excited and then realize you didn't pull the quote-unquote God Yhwach that's coming out. Then you have Captain Rukia, which I think is really good, just because she does have a Rancor and a Spada killer. I think that she's still an excellent unit even now. Obviously, she's not as strong as she used to be, just because a lot of these characters are relatively old. And here, where you get into all these really old units, you have Ryukin, Masaki, as well as Ishin. Masaki still holds up very well to this day. She still does her job incredibly well, specifically against no affiliation enemies or mind enemies, especially when it comes to stuff like Senkaimon. Ishin does have the read all dodge against hollow enemies, which is pretty good against the attack medium scrolls or small scrolls. I forget which one in particular, but he does have at least a use there. And Candace, I feel like Candace kind of fell off pretty hard, which is kind of unfortunate. Let's just quickly go into these characters, right? She has Frenzy, she has Havoc, she has weakened defense on her Soul Bomb, but her issue is that she doesn't really have a crazy amount of damage output. Like Frenzy, Berserker 20% is not really anywhere near the level that you would want at this stage. Like I have, let's go here, along with a Rancor killer. Like when you go to a Mind or Rancor killing units, you have the 7th anniversary Ichigo, you have the Lunar New Year Rukia, you just have a bit more options. I guess the options are relatively limited, but I feel like 7th anniversary Ichigo is better than Candace, despite his first strong attack being kind of mid. Next, we have Ryukin. Honestly, this character fell off so fast, just because there were just better units when this character came out. You had Lile Baro, you had Power Hikone, but when you actually check out like who's available for Soul Reaper killers for Power, the competition is just way too. It's just, you have Kenpachi, Kisuke, Bruno. Bruno's kind of but still, it's just like, do you really want to play with this Ryukin who has what, Frenzy +1, Berserker 60%? Actually, that's not really too bad. I mean, his first strong attack is the shotgun-like blast, if I remember correctly. Like that, this is not really all that great, considering that you have characters that just have 3k length beams as first strong attacks. And it's just, it is what it is. I don't want to go too deep into a lot of these characters. I just want to give my take on how I feel about all these characters in the filler, as well as obviously the main banner, which I do have a lot to say about the main banner, which I'll try to keep it relatively brief compared to my psychoanalysis video that I decided to make, apparently, because it ended up being 30 minutes long for the gameplay video, and I just really Orihime pisses me off. I really dislike that Orihime, I'm not gonna lie. Masaki, Bruiser 60%, Flurry +1, normal attack damage link 20%, so her Bruiser goes up to 80%, which is really good. Boost along with the barrier. She doesn't have multi-barrier, but I think it's fine. She's still, as a solo unit, she hits so hard that I give her a pass on that. Ishin, 3000 link beam, 960 AoE second, full screen third strong attack. Despite not really dealing a crazy amount of damage, if you ever use him on against proper attributes, against proper killer, he still does very, very well. And I still use him for attack medium scrolls, or is it large? I forget if it's attack medium or small, but there's one that's just hollow enemies, so I just use him. Captain Rukia, is she a captain? Yeah, she. Okay, I'm just making sure that I'm not tripping. Yeah, so Captain Rukia, Aranka or Spotted Killer, can't really go wrong with her transformation mechanic. Really upsetting that Caleb hasn't really pumped out more Bankai transformation mechanics. I think they've only done it with her and I think it was Renji, like I think a year later, which is kind of unfortunate because he was a mid-month unit, so they didn't capitalize on it. Like honestly, a transformation Ichigo into Mugetsu, Resurrection like Condom Okiura into second Resurrection Okiura would be cool. Condom Aizen into fourth Hogyoku form Aizen. Like Caleb really just doesn't want to make money. I don't understand, bro. I really don't get it. Next we have the actual main fillers. Excuse me. The main prize that are filler in this banner. You have this Ichigo, which has Frenzy +2 and a damage to enemies not afflicted by an ailment. This character is still to this day incredibly cracked. You have a 3k length beam. Let me pull this up. You have the 3k length beam. You have a 1080 AoE around yourself, and then a standard full screen third strong attack around yourself for his second and then third strong attack. It's just really good kit. Not too crazy, but does its job incredibly well. You have 2 killers with a Aranka no affiliation. The Frenzy 2 and damage to not afflicted by an ailment alone is literally Frenzy. Let's see, ×3 ×2 6. It's literally Frenzy +5 levels of damage, and that's not even counting the fact that you can give this character SP +200 or Focus +400, along with full stamina damage boost just to get even more damage out of this character. He has a 100% chance to hit all dodge, so he has read all dodge, long stride. He's Sprinter +2. Then you have Marauder. He's completely immune to all status elements. You have shared complete status immunity. I thought it was just immunity to all status elements. This is really nice. I'm not gonna lie. I forgot that he had this. I don't know why I forgot. Anyways, yeah. And then you have Team Party recovered 20% stamina as like, why not? Hit hidden enemies, pierce iron skin. Not really gonna use him there all that much, probably. But either way, no status elements on this character, but he deals so much damage, and you really don't want to deal status elements when you're playing with this character just because you deal double damage when they're not afflicted, which is like almost the equivalent of giving the enemies weaken without having to rely on giving them weaken, if that makes sense. Really strong character. Uryu, nothing really crazy with this Uryu. His first strong attack is the 750 AoE distant first strong attack. This is just a nice circular in front. It's not too crazy. I personally obviously like the beam just because the beam's broken. It really is. But he has the homing vortex on his second strong attack, standard full screen on his third strong attack. He's not overly crazy, but at the very least, you have the Frenzy +1, Berserker 60%, Tech Attribute Strong Attack Damage 20%, and then he has literally almost all the farming potential that you could want on a character. You have Speed Droplets, Potions, Super Potions, and then he has Pierce Iron Skin, which makes him a great farmer for that. And he has Bombardment, so his Soul Bomb is going to deal massive damage, and he has Damage Inflicted at full stam 20% built into the character, which means that you also get access to 45% full stam just from getting him to T20. He has the Team Party Recover Stamina, Havoc 20%, Sprinter +1. Recover 20% stamina to Team Party is not really all that crazy, but considering that it is just like extra utility just for utility's sake, is really nice. The increased technique attribute character strong attack damage when you're doing something like IT, even if they're running someone like Grimmjow, who's obviously not a tech human, he still gives extra damage to those allies, and that alone in my opinion is just really nice utility. And yeah, he might not deal status elements, but the Pierce Iron Skin, I can forgive it considering that he just has really good he has relatively good multipliers. I don't want to say really good multipliers because obviously you're at the mercy of if the homing vortex listens to you, because sometimes it might want to go one way instead of the other. Next we have Chad. Chad is an interesting character because he's really made for brave battles, but since they gave him the boosts, they gave him booster plus 30% along with you have enhancer, right? Yeah, and enhancer means that he gives support to your allies, but since he has damage to enemies not afflicted by an ailment plus 100%, means that this character has flurry plus 3 levels of damage, and that alone for PvE content is really strong, especially against boss stages. And since he has 2 killers with Captain and, is that Sternritter? Yeah, Captain and Sternritter. It's just really nice for some Senkaimon stages where you just can't eke out that little bit of damage, and you can actually run like last ditch without missing out on a ton of damage. Like it, dude, booster plus 100% damage to enemies not afflicted by an ailment. I really do like that skill. All right, now going into the problem child of this entire banner, Sugar Tits. I don't like this character at all. I don't think she's a bad character. Matter of fact, in PvE, I think she should be fine. But for Brave Battles alone, this character pisses me off because I remember how horrible and how boring Brave Battles got when Jugram came out, and they literally just released Jugram 2.0, except they just made her a red. They just transgendered him into a redhead with massive fat tits. Like, I don't really see the point in forcing players to slog through Brave Battles for an extra. I know it's only 5 seconds, but that's enough. Like, people are like, Brave Battle, temporary invincibility 10 seconds, and then persistence for 5 seconds. So you have to wait for her invincibility to run out, or pierce her invincibility, which you're gonna pierce the invincibility anyways, but then she's gonna survive like a zombie for an extra 5 seconds for like. So, someone at KLab said, "Oh, dude, you remember when Jugram came out? Yeah, let's do that again." I don't get it. Whatever. It bugs me, not because I dislike the Orihime. Like, she's a good character, cool. I'm not calling her a bad character. I'm calling her a character that's bad for the game. Like, simple as that. I'm in 7th seed, and the reason for that is because I think Brave Battle Invincibility is a dog shit skill that literally is just KLab's excuse to milk whales for more money, because some of these whales still feel this horrible incessant need to stay in captains or head captains. Like, why you guys stay in head captains is beyond me, considering that they disrespect the shit out of you when it comes to this mobile game. Like, I'm sorry, KLab, when it comes to like whales, I feel like they shit on whales so much. So, like, they even banned a couple of our whales, or gave warnings to a couple of our whales because they whaled too hard. For those that don't remember the Guild Quest issue. Yeah, that was a thing. Next, let's talk about Ichigo. Ichigo is completely broken. I don't get me wrong. I love Ichigo. I think it's hype, but I'm getting to the point where KLab's really just releasing broken stuff, just to release broken stuff, and it kind of concerns me with like the future of the game, just because we're not really getting that much more content. If you notice, like, the only real content we've gotten is Limit Breaker Quest, which KLab literally just, it's just horde mode for horde mode's sake. They don't penalize anyone that's modding. They don't, there's like some type of weird, like I see people modding a Limit Breaker Quest and then they flex their rounds, and you can tell that they're clearly cheating because they have like 1 out of 5 units, and you're just sitting there like, huh, wow, you're doing so well in this game. It's a weird flex, but whatever. The Ichigo, straight up, he's just straight up broken. Like, you have Frenzy +2, you have increased status element chance against the enemies that you have killer against. So it's kind of weird, because usually when you get characters that have increased status element chance against, say, mind enemies, right? It doesn't matter what enemies you go up against, as long as you're taking them to a spot where they have attribute advantage, so like IT, IZ, etc. But if this Ichigo doesn't have access to Soul Reaper or Quincy enemies in IT, for example, he misses out on the increased status element chance, which feels kind of wonky. I'm not mad about it, to be honest. In content like Senkaimon, he's gonna shred whenever he can. Like, if KLab releases 10 million HP enemies and they just happen to be Soul Reapers or Quincy's, this Ichigo will be able to go in there and just shred the living shit out of them, which is what I'm gonna guess KLab is gonna do at some point. Not really sure when they'll do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we have a stage that's really hard, and if you don't have this Ichigo, it's gonna be kind of annoying because they'll just throw in enemies that are of every single attribute. I feel like Caleb would do that. Caleb be kind of dirty sometimes. So his soul trait, strong attack damage 20% and strong attack recharge 12%. I don't really have too much of an opinion on this, just because they could have just added it as a skill, but they decided that it'll be a soul trait. Not really mad about it, not really like crazily hype about it. I see some people that get way too overly excited, and it's just like, my Senkaimon Chad is a better Link anyways, so I don't really see why I would use this character as a Link when he's the most broken character in the game in the first place. I hope that makes sense. I don't know, maybe I'm just talking out my ass. Either way, he has Weaken and Lacerate on all of his attacks, which is pretty good. Personally, I think Weaken and Drain would have made this character even more broken, but I think Caleb was like, hold up, listen. Let's just do this. There's always got to be something that's wrong with the character, right? Increased status element chance against Soul Reapers and Quincy's plus 10%. That's really, really crazy considering this character has Frenzy plus 2. He has Spiritual Pressure boost 80%. So this character is going to hit like a truck considering he has melee collision across all of his attacks. Oh, actually, no. His first strong attack I don't think has melee collision. What was your first strong attack? It's not a melee, is it? It's melee? That's a beam? Bitch! I thought this was a freaking range collision attack. Okay. Alright, Caleb. Phew, damn. Star Power up item plus 2. Increased special move damage. Bruh, they really just threw the whole book at him. Alright, going into the innate skills. Sprinter plus 2, long stride. This character's gonna fly. Skills, you have bombardment, so his soul bomb is gonna hit like a truck considering he has damage to lacerated enemies and damage to weakened enemies plus 100%. This will scale separately from the damage you will deal to an enemy that is weakened, which is an extra 50% damage. Pay attention to how that's worded, because if you weaken an enemy, you're going to naturally deal 50% more damage to them. But on top of that, you have the skill called damage to weakened enemies 40%, which scales differently. And then you have damage to lacerated enemies. So if you get hit with both status elements, if you hit with both status elements, this character is going to hit like a truck, right? Frenzy plus 2, hit an enemy chance, Marauder, Spiritual Pressure boost. Marauder is guard break along with nullify melee resistance. I always say this for the newer players because some newer players don't understand what that means. Pretty much instead of having to use a strong attack to break the character's guard, if you have guard break, you don't have to worry about that. It literally essentially gives you 15 to 30% more damage depending on what the character's frenzy level is. Next we have Debilitator plus 5 seconds, so your Lacerate for 5 extra seconds is crazy, actually. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of nuts. And then he's completely immune to all status elements. Oh, they really just threw the book at him. Now, when I saw the strong attack for the third strong attack, I thought it looked like an 1170. I didn't really call it out just because I wanted to be sure. But yeah, it's an 1170, which means that it's even without the charge mechanic on it, it was already like one of the best strong attacks in the entire game. And then they decided to add this AoE distant, AoE situation to it, which means that it is by far the strongest strong attack in the entire game, minus maybe Bambietta's multi hold down skill. I would like to test the damage between those just because I haven't really, I'll be real with you, I don't have Bambietta and I don't have the furry loving Toshiro. So I can't really test it. I guess I can go on a friend's account and stuff like that. I could ask, but I don't want to impede on someone's account and stuff like that. When I'll be rich, I'm not really all that interested in how much damage it deals because I don't have them. A little selfish of me, sure, but whatever. It is what it is. And then the second strong attack is a 960, 1020. Yeah, so I believe that this is the same strong attack as Uryu, but I might be wrong. Second strong attack, like literally all new kit, really? The Nat String's the new kit. Oh, 240 radius into full AoE. That's interesting. That's pretty cool. That's interesting. I thought it would be like AoE. Oh, well, I guess that is AoE around himself at the end. But the 240 is interesting because it's literally a new Nat String too. Either way, this character looks insane. I think he's gonna be hella fun to play with. I want to know how broken he is, though. like not even just like, obviously he's broken, but I want to know how broken it is. When it comes to actually playing with him. So let's check this out. Don't worry, we're here with you. That's Orihime. I'll handle it. I promise. Yakuzo! Oh, dude, Ichigo. Okay, so that's gonna be Ichigo, and everything belongs to me. Everything that exists in this world is gonna be Yhwach. Now, Yhwach is a lot more tame than Ichigo, but that's not to say he's bad or even good. He's a great character. Going into his kit alone, let's do this. So 750, 750 AoE distant, vacuum explosion, pretty standard, pretty self-explanatory. He has the 960, oh, so it is 960, excellent. 960 AoE distant in front, along with a homing vortex built in, and then standard full screen. He's literally just a standard, good, great character, like standard character when it comes to having a really, really strong attack kit. Going into his skills, we have long stride sprinter +2. He has a strange gauge mechanic, which I think the gauge mechanic is pretty interesting because it just gives him significantly more damage as you ramp up his different style rampage. Like he has a rampage mechanic that's a bit different style. Team, party, mind, attribute, strength, strong attack, recharge -20%. I love this skill for like farming content, like extreme co-op, IT, just because like you get your strong attacks back so quick, but it also works for the entire party. So like you guys are just popping strong attacks like nothing. You have frenzy +2, spiritual pressure boost 80%, then you have berserker 40%, lots of damage multipliers here. Complete status immunity, just like the Ichigo, debilitator +5 seconds with weaken on everything. Doesn't have any other status element, which is kind of sad. He has poise and weaken defense and devastation 60%. I don't really, I kind of wish he got bombardment, to be honest. Since he's a mind Yhwach, I thought it'd be kind of cool if he got bombardment too. I don't think bombardment is as crazy OP of a skill as it used to be, since Guild Quest no longer allows you to just nuke through, unless you're doing hard GQ still, which I think you should do hard GQ just fine. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much just Yhwach in a nutshell. Let me bring up what the gauge does for this Yhwach, just so that there's a record in this video. Like, I don't really think it's overly crazy to talk about. Here it is: 20 kills, increased melee damage +20%. So literally just straight up, after 20 kills, which is probably 1 to 2 strong attacks from this character, you'll get +20% to your damage when it comes to your NAD and your strong attacks. Your soul bomb, I do not believe gets classified as melee damage. I believe it gets classified as just raw damage, no melee, no range. 40 kills, he gets an extra berserker 40%. Until I get a hold of this character, I do not know if the 40% stacks with this berserker or if it's a new multiplying berserker, kind of like the gauge skill. Like gauge has a berserker multiplier for specific characters, and that berserker is not the same berserker that a character normally gets. Like it gets multiplied in instead of added to the berserker. Next, we have at 60 kills an extra devastation 60%. So he gets devastation 120%, or it might be like the gauge berserker where it might be a different multiplier. Until I get a hold of these characters, it's going to be really hard for me to just outright say devastation 120%, berserker 80%, because that might not be the case. That might be like berserker like if it's a new multiplier, instead of times 1.8, instead of 1.4, it might be times 1.4 times 1.4 instead of times 1.8. And you'll see here that that's straight up a 16% damage difference when it comes to your strong attacks. And then at 80 kills, he'll have an extra soul bomb. Having an extra soul bomb, I don't think is all that broken, but getting the ability to obtain a new soul bomb halfway through the run after you pop it off in the beginning of the game is really damn OP. And I think that that's going to be really, really, really cool to see. Either way, I'm hoping K-Lab comes out with new content throughout the year. I'll be real with you, ever since I watched Cool's video about K-Lab potentially trying to like stray away from Bleach Brave Souls, now that we know for a fact that they're just aiming for 10th anniversary, it's a bit troublesome. Like, it's a bit troubling. Now, I did see a lot of criticism to my video where they said, oh yeah, no, they're aiming for it, but it doesn't mean that they'll stop making content for the game. I never once said that once they hit 10th anniversary, they would stop making content for the game, but that could also be that could also mean that if the EA game that they're working on for like FIFA does incredibly well, you might see a lot of the developers that are already not really doing a great job developing in the first place, because all they're doing is developing characters. They're not really developing content in terms of like where we can use these characters. You might see like KLab start funneling more of their people into something like the EA FIFA mobile game that they're trying to do instead of Bleach Brave Souls. And the problem with that is if we just have characters coming out with no actual content coming out, like no new Inheritance Trial Beyond Ultra mode, like Plus Ultra, or like Guild Quest Nightmare, or like if they don't come out with new game modes, them coming out with these broken characters doesn't really mean shit, because you're gonna be so overpowered in the first place that it's just like, now what? You know what I mean? Like, how often do you guys like play something like Skyrim and then you get so overpowered and then there's nothing left to kill because you've already killed it all? You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a bit troubling to me, because it's just like aiming for something as opposed to succeeding. It's like, oh yeah, we're actually we're doing well in our goal for Bleach Brave Souls on the 10-year anniversary, and we're looking forward to the projects that we have planned for that game in the future. Like there's no hint of that. It's literally just straight up, oh, we're aiming for 10th anniversary. It looks like we're gonna hit it. You see, like the wording is a bit different when it comes to an investor report. And an investor report, they don't want to say, like, you don't want to sell them like, oh yeah, we're gonna kill off the cash cow. And I don't believe that KLab's gonna kill off BBS. But I do believe that once we hit 10th anniversary, we're gonna see either a steady decline, or we might see KLab actually try to compete against Bleach Soul Resonance. My hope, and like the part of like, I have a part of me that's really skeptical, where KLab wants to just, you know, cut Bleach Brave Soul's head off in like a couple years, 3 years, whatever. But I also have like the optimism side, where I'm really hoping that KLab hasn't really been coming out with a crazy amount of content, because they're saving it for when Bleach Soul Resonance does come out and they actually have to compete with another Bleach mobile game coming out, and one that actually looks like it's actually going to be good, instead of you know, Bleach mobile 3D, which looks like a Chinese knockoff, and Bleach Immortal Souls, which is, in my opinion, a completely different game. I don't think it's a bad game. I just think it's a completely different game than Bleach Brave Souls, which is an action game. They'll actually have to be competing against an action Bleach game. And now that James actually recently posted that there's finally a patent pending, or no, a patent that was approved for a Bleach console game, Bleach Brave Souls is going to have to do a lot better in terms of trying to keep their player base, because there's so many people that only play Bleach Brave Souls because it's the only Bleach game available that's an action game. And I think that that's completely valid. But either way, we'll see exactly how it goes down. I love how this video ended up being 30 minutes, but it's pretty much a discussion video on how I feel about the state of the game, as well as this main banner. Should you summon on this banner? Yeah, no shit. How deep should you go? I'm personally going to go like 1500 orbs. I don't know if I'll go deeper. I do want these characters, but since they have individual banners, even though the individual banners are bad, I'm just aiming for Ichigo. I don't get me wrong, getting Yhwach or Orihime would be great, but Orihime, I don't care for Brave Battles. I think it's disgusting of what they're doing with it. And Yhwach, I've been wanting an SP-based Yhwach literally since Yhwach came out. Y'all can literally go back and see. Like, I was so upset when he didn't get Frenzy in his original Mind version. I was upset when he didn't get Frenzy on his Resurrection, so yeah.